It is April 18th of 2026, and this is the Court Gallery. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a neighbor feud boiling over with allegations of stalking and gunshots. A 19-year-old who thinks his assault charge is a laughing matter, and a habitual DUI suspect with 11 priors begging the judge to take off his ankle bite. Plus, we're stepping into eviction court to see what happens when a tenant intentionally floods his own apartment. Grab your coffee and refreshments, ladies and gentlemen. Buckle up. We've got great cases from this week to review. And as always, it all starts right now.
Matter 26-084, Morgan Fuchsia and Sharon Woods, both present here in court. And Ms. Fuchsia, any word from Ms. McConaughey?
Nope. Okay. I'm pretty sure she's had about enough. She's literally throwing up in court. When we did the hearing, when we were trying to get the temporary order, she's puking her brains out in court. Okay. It's a stress response. She just can't handle it.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. All right. So for the record, with Ms. McConaughey failing to appear at today's hearing, so I'll do a denial for 8-5, but I'll do that after today so we can get to the case with folks present. All right. So you've been here all day. I know you were also here last week or the week before. So I'm not going to belabor this too much longer. I'll go over my review of the record, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Fuchsia to provide testimony, and then Ms. Woods in response. So as we've already talked about a little bit here, Ms. Fuchsia is the home health care provider for Ms. Woods' neighbor, Brenda McConaughey. Ms. McConaughey had a petition filed here based on some occasions of Ms. Woods threatening to harm Ms. McConaughey. And then there was an incident, turning now to the matter with Ms. Fuchsia, where in the, sounds like there was a car, Ms. Fuchsia was present in a car outside of the apartment complex where Ms. Woods and Ms. McConaughey live. And there was an incident there where Ms. Fuchsia believes that she was being threatened. There's reference to a police report. I didn't see a copy of that police report in the file.
I tried to get them to you. There's two, but we've had problems with the police department, obviously.
Okay.
I did include the numbers for the incident reports of what they gave me in the actual packet.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. And I did see that you've got the numbers in there. Okay, so with that, no, that's not a ton of context, but it's, I know it's late in the morning, so I think at this point I'll hand it over to the parties here. So Ms. Fuchsia, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, so from the very beginning, when I started working with Brenda, she had already made it clear she had been having problems with Ms. Woods. And this would have been a lot easier if she was here. But so the first big one is,
well, and if I could, I know this is going to be maybe a little tricky because your involvement here is directly related to another person who's not present. If I may maybe help
stick with me, myself, and I.
Yeah, to the extent, and it's okay to talk about instances involving Brenda. But what I'm looking for with you in particular is that pattern of behavior.
Okay.
that is again, can involve another person, but is also directed at you. So go ahead. Yeah.
So since I started working, she's come up to my car multiple times. She's asked me for money. I have a video actually on my phone of the most recent situation where I've I've waited a while to do this because I questioned her mental stability, and obviously the video that I have on my phone will absolutely explain why. But at first she just didn't make any sense. And then she started coming up to my car, touching my vehicle, screaming at me about where I was allowed to park, where I wasn't allowed to park, which is part of where the cops came in.
And can I ask you a clarifying question?
Yes.
Are these multiple instances with Miss Woods coming up to your car, or is
Oh,
this
yeah.
this was one?
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
so
this
these are
is
just
like
okay.
4 or 5 separate
Okay.
situations.
And it's always, can you kind of paint a picture of what's happening? Is it you're pulling up to the apartment complex and she's coming out to your car?
So I will park because Brenda doesn't really like people in her place. She's kind of a hoarder. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But normally we end up going to like a doctor's appointment, or we'll go and I'll take her to get her groceries, stuff like that. Like I do a lot of her shopping with her because she can't read. So I will park my car, and sometimes she overstimulates, which will make her throw up and it will make her have seizures, stuff like that. So I try to give her space as much as I need to. So where I park my car is right in front, which just happens to be by Sharon's apartment. And sometimes Brenda will leave me there sitting for an hour. And I don't do anything while I'm sitting there. I sit on my phone, I watch my TikTok, and I wonder if she's ever coming back. That's literally my whole day. So the first couple of times, I didn't really see like it was a huge issue. And I'm like, okay, well, you're just annoying. And that was fine. But she came up to my car one day and it was just too much. She
What
came
can
up
you-
talking to me about her needing money and that she didn't have money for cigarettes and how I needed to give her money. And I'm like, okay, first off, I can barely pay my own bills. I'm not giving you shit. It's not going to happen. Stop asking me, leave me alone, go away.
May I stop you? This is the anti-harassment calendar. Some colorful language sometimes just comes with the territory. To the extent
Sorry.
you can, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that happened first. And then Brenda had came down. We were sitting in the car talking. I was explaining to Brenda what had just happened because I thought it was weird. And I'm like, I don't know why she thinks she can do this. And then she comes up to my car, knocks on my window, makes my client roll down the window and starts going on about you can't park here, and some craziness about being wanted and asking us if we were wanted by the police or if we had warrants, and how we were drawing attention to her place, basically, and that we needed to move. And then she started yelling at us and screaming. And that was just the first time. So this has been an ongoing thing. The next, and not to mention her putting her hands on my car and shaking my car. And then I can show you the video on my phone if you would like.
Well,
And
I can only look at evidence that's been submitted beforehand that everyone's had a chance to see.
I didn't know.
That's all right.
So there's that. So she's also made a point of having words with me when it came to asking my client for cigarettes, where I directly responded and told her that she needed to leave my clients alone. It has gotten to a point where the next time I had to speak to management of the apartment building about what was going on and how to handle it, and they pretty much told her cease and desist. And she had come up to my car again, same thing, screaming and yelling, and I literally had the
So
school bus
can I
coming
stop
up.
you? So you went to the apartment management
Oh, yeah.
and you had them, or they communicated your understanding to Miss Woods that she wasn't supposed to come talk to you
Yes.
anymore. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. So one of the ladies that was there, her son gets off the school bus at the same time. She came out and she heard us screaming. And by the end of this whole situation, I had 4 people who actually are clients of my company who receive home health care as well, standing in the doorway trying to figure out what's going on. It's gotten to a point, this is affecting my job. I have lost 12 hours of work a week. I am not comfortable going to work at this point, to a point where my boss has pulled me off of working there, which is a huge problem because that is my main client. And I can't deal with this. It is like, I'm gonna end up getting fired. My boss isn't even supportive of me coming here and doing this and getting a protective order because it looks bad for the company, basically. But so does her coming out and screaming all these different times and me having to go all this extra way. And my boss, you know, she's more worried about my client's health, and I understand that. But I have mental health needs too, and they're not being met in this situation. And it's become very threatening. Like in the hallways of the apartment complex, she's come out, she's had words, she's tried to swing on not only my client, but other people in the apartment complex. She has violent tendencies.
Can you tell me a little bit about the incident that caused you to call the police?
So the first time, it was when she came out and she had put her hands on my car and she was shaking my car.
Do you
And
recall about when that was? No need for a specific date.
February 20th.
Go ahead, sir.
So as I had said, she'd come out and she'd shook my car. She scared my client half to death. She was puking. And I can't have that kind of behavior in my work setting, because not only does it make it very unsafe for me and my client, but it literally can get me in so much trouble, putting her in a situation like that and continuing to allow it without trying to take action. It's not okay.
You said that was the first time you've called police more than once?
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you talk about some of the other times?
The second time, so I honestly, I believe that she's kind of figured out that the cops can't do anything without this harassment order. The second time, she's refusing to open doors. The cops flat out told me she does have a mental health history and maybe that's part of what's going on. And
When you say she wouldn't open the doors, what do you mean by that?
they were talking to her through the windows
Why-
and
what
trying
made
to
you-
get her
what
to
made
come
you-
out. And,
Call police.
she was screaming at me in front of a school bus full of kids about where I was parking, but the cops had told her multiple times now that I'm allowed to park where I need to park, especially when it comes to my job. There's no reason I can't park there. She has no standing in even harassing me about this.
Thank you,
But
Ms.
she's
Fisher.
proven herself violent among the people in the apartment complex and towards my client that if I get into a physical confrontation, I can lose my license. Like all of my certifications, I can lose my whole career over this. And I'm not willing to risk that. Especially when it comes to having to defend myself, like I need to be able to do this.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fuchsia. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Woods. And this being your petition, you'll have a chance to make some concluding comments. Ms. Woods, all right. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I have hardly any recognition of what she's talking about because like 5 years ago, I moved in and after that Brenda moved in, and in that since then I've maybe knocked on her door twice for cigarettes. And the reason why she's puking is because she drinks all the time.
So we're going to, similar with my comments to Ms. Fuchsia, we're going to try to, I understand Brenda's kind of part of this. But what I would like you to do is respond specifically to allegations that Ms. Fuchsia here is making about comments directed at her, coming out to the car, things of that nature. So we're going to try to leave Brenda out of it.
Okay.
And speak a little bit more about interactions with Ms. Fuchsia.
Okay, well, I didn't touch her car. I don't know why she said I was shaking her car. I can't shake a car. I didn't put my hands anywhere near her. I went like this at the window. And when Brenda was sitting in there, I remember 2 times, there were separate occasions where I came outside with a cigarette and she had her car running there for like an hour, and I would go in and out of the house and lay down in my bed and call people and be like, you know, there's this car outside and they're running their car, and the energy from the car is like it's starting to get to me, the noise of the car running. And so I'd go out and I'd smoke a cigarette, and she's in there and she's laughing or whatever, doing whatever she needs to do. And I thought, who leaves their person out there for that long, and
Can I ask
so-
you a specific question?
yes.
So one thing that Miss Fuchsia here said was that at some point she went to the apartment management and they asked you to stop contacting Miss Fuchsia. Do you have any response to that? Do you agree that happened? Do you dispute that happened?
I don't know what that said. What did that say? The order?
So I don't have any cease and desist order in front of me. All I know is Miss Fuchsia here testified that at some point the apartment complex management had asked you to stop contacting Miss Fuchsia.
No.
Do you remember that? Or
No.
Okay, no. So you
No.
deny that happened?
Yes. And there was a separate incident where the kid on the school bus got off the school bus and into my yard and threw a house that my son had built, and he threw it in the yard and crushed it. And so the lady, I go, honey, you don't talk to strangers. That was my immediate reaction. And his mom goes, you psycho. And she started yelling at me, just calling me names, and because I was even speaking to her son. And so I go upstairs after they go inside, and I tried to retrieve an apology and kind of not necessarily force anything. I know that would be a situation where I would not be allowed to be able to have contact with her. But I take medication. I think the girls ganged up on me, Brenda and Letitia was her name.
Again, I'm going to try to keep you just on.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we're talking about here is just so, Miss Fuchsia's arguing that, when she's there at the apartment to work with her client, that you are repeatedly coming up to her car and harassing her after being
No.
told to stop.
I remember maybe
So-
2 incidences where I told her she parked in a fire lane and she was there for an hour in a fire lane. And I said, you need to move your car because you're in a fire lane.
Okay. What about do you remember being contacted by the police ever as part of these incidences?
Yes, my mom was there with me, and they immediately got me arrested, and I did time for that, and then I'm just proceeding with court and everything.
Okay. All right. As part of the allegations involving Miss Fuchsia, you're saying you were arrested?
I believe so. For violating a no contact order.
Well, I'm not seeing any evidence of that. It sounds like, according to Miss Fuchsia, again, I feel like I'm summarizing a lot of what you're saying, but so correction if I'm wrong. There were some incidences where the police were simply called because Miss Fuchsia believed that you were, harassing her at her car after being told to stop, and
No,
police
I
were
wasn't.
called, and you don't recall that occurring. All right, and so I think I'm hearing you saying you recall. I think you keep saying 2 times where you went up to Miss Fuchsia's car and maybe asked for cigarettes. Do you remember the other time?
I think maybe I asked for a cigarette one time and then she said no. So I said, okay. And then she started yelling and saying it was ridiculous that I even asked her, and just kept getting hostile and kept getting, riled up. And so I walked back to my house and just said, whatever, and then the next time I said, you're parked in a fire lane, and then she started going off again and I said, whatever. And then it was like out of the blue that I got this no contact or harassment charge.
Well, and I want to be careful, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. You're not charged with a crime. What this is Miss Fuchsia is asking the court to issue an order that would prohibit you from talking to her or coming within a certain amount of space of her, that things of that nature. And if the court does grant that order, violating that order is a crime, but you're not here for any kind of criminal charge. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. And so another thing, maybe this will help jog your memory, or maybe you'll dispute it happened. Another incident, it sounds like Miss Fuchsia is saying that you approached her car asking for money. Do you
No,
remember that?
I've never asked her for money. I've never, and Brenda said that she would kick me in the forehead. She just gets drunk and she just spouts off stuff like that.
Well, again, when we're talking about her, we're talking about Miss Fuchsia, not Brenda.
Okay, I don't know Miss Fuchsia. I've never heard of Miss Fuchsia.
All right. Okay, thank you, Ms. Woods.
Mhm.
All right. And ma'am, are you here for this matter there in the back?
I drove her.
You drove her? Okay. All right. Okay. Do you have any information that you would like to? I mean, you don't have to, you're just the driver, but
Well, I was working for a mental health provider.
when you say her, you mean Miss Woods? Okay. Well, so when in civil protection order cases, the the court hears primarily from the parties involved, the petitioner and the respondent. If a non-party witness is what we call material and necessary to making a decision, the judge can hear from a non-party witness. You're not necessarily a non-party witness. Frankly, I would like to know a little bit more about Miss Wood's background. If you are willing to share any information you're able to, I would welcome that. If not, that's okay. You're not under any kind of obligation for that. So, and if I take your silence as you don't want to participate, which is fine.
But I feel from this, and
All right.
I know what she's talking about, and I can. This one does have
I don't know what she's talking about either.
Do you have, ma'am, do you have information just on the apartment complex where Miss Woods lives that you'd be comfortable talking more about? Or I guess I can ask Miss Fuchsia about this too.
layout. That's her.
So Ms. Fuchsia, one thing that concerns me is, as I sort of explained there to Ms. Woods, when an order is in place, violating that order becomes a crime that's punishable by up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine. And part of my concern here is that if there's some issues with behavioral mental health, setting up a situation where we have a pretty serious potential for criminal charges in a context where there may be some issues with what's going on. And so you have, sounds like you work with this apartment building a lot. Is this an apartment where it's assisted living? Is there staff there that helps folks? What's
No,
the
so
situation
it's
here?
like senior, I want to say senior living.
It's more, it's run by King County Health Authority.
Where is it? Is it?
It's in Olympia.
It's in Olympia.
It's in Olympia on Martin Way.
Yeah. Okay.
And they have seniors, and they also have lots of people.
Is there staff there that helps folks?
No, that's why I come in for Brenda like I do, is because we're basically contracted.
Yeah. Okay. So there's folks who no staff at the apartment complex
I
necessarily.
mean, there's office staff, but
like professional, like
No.
behavioral health staff. or
no,
anything
there's
like
not.
that.
It's not that level of care,
Okay.
which is why, like, I made a point of trying to explain, like, I do believe she has some mental health issues, and I'm trying to recognize that. But I also need to worry about my own safety and my job.
Understood. Yeah.
Like, and I definitely do recognize that there are repercussions for this, that she may not understand, or she may appear not to understand. But in the end, I am not responsible for her mental health or her inability to handle that. I'm the one who has to handle these repercussions if she doesn't. And that's not fair to me or my job.
I understand. All right, Ms. Woods, is there anything further you'd like to say, ma'am? Well, so going through the elements of unlawful harassment, here's my findings here are that, having reviewed the evidence, the petition, having taken testimony, I do feel that Ms. Fuchsia has met her burden of proof as far as outlining incidents of repeated contact. I know, Ms. Woods, you're disputing that contact has occurred. I do find that Ms. Fuchsia has at least shown, more likely than not, that the conduct that she's alleging happened has occurred, and has occurred in the context of it being given notice that it's unwanted contact. The question that I had really was the level to which Ms. Fuchsia was able to demonstrate this type of repeated contact created reasonable, substantial emotional distress. I think Ms. Fuchsia was able to address those questions that I had, in that this incident has broader ramifications for her ability to work at this particular apartment. Sounds like she's taking some, has some adverse consequences from work, from her hours. And so I think that the allegations are what I'm finding, in fact, these incidences are creating an atmosphere that's creating a reasonable, substantial emotional distress for Ms. Fuchsia. So I do believe that Ms. Fuchsia has met her burden of proof here. So Ms. Woods, what that means is, again, you're not charged with a crime. What this means is the court's going to enter what's called a protection order, protecting Ms. Fuchsia. It's fuchsia like the color.
And
Can
I say something really quick? Can I say something really quick?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. It's just that I think the specifics of the order need to be put in place, because I thought the order was already in place. And before the court hearing, I was sitting in a group of people, and Brenda just walks right up to one of the people, and I had to immediately go in my house and call 911. And she just totally didn't, she was oblivious, she just kind of was inebriated or whatever, and she just walked right into me, and thought that it didn't apply to her.
So I'm gonna explain this to you, all right, and I'm gonna see if you have any questions after I do that, okay? And this is also for you, Ms. Fuchsia, if you have any questions. All right, so first of all, this doesn't involve Brenda at all. This is just between you and Ms. Fuchsia. So Brenda's not a part of this order, all right? So what this order does, it's in place for 1 year, and it prohibits certain types of conduct and communication between you and Ms. Fuchsia. All right, I'm going to go over those with you here in a moment. Okay, and the first is no harm. So you're not allowed to cause any physical harm, bodily injury, harassment, threats, anything like that towards Ms. Fuchsia. All right, so that's the first provision, and you'll have you'll be able to get a copy of this order. Not here, we have to still upload it into the file, but you can get a copy of this from the Thurston County District Court website. And if there's folks that can help her access those documents, that will be available for you as well. But I'll go over them with you here. So you're not allowed to harm Ms. Fuchsia. You're also not allowed to contact Ms. Fuchsia. So what that means is you can't talk to her. Doesn't sound like there's any allegations that the two of you have each other's phone numbers or anything like that, but you're not allowed to text, call, talk. You also can't do any third-party communication. So you can't tell Brenda to tell Miss Fuchsia, this or that. So there's just no contact between the two.
Yes, sir.
As far as exclusion provisions here, I want to be careful, because one thing that I can't do is exclude Miss Woods from her own house, and it sounds like
Absolutely, and that's not what I'm asking. I
Right.
just want to make sure she can't come up to my car or me and affect my job.
right. So it sounds like when Miss Fuchsia, when you pull up to the apartment, you are frequently within around Miss Woods' apartment. I see in your petition you asked for 20 feet.
Yeah, like literally just sidewalk to her place.
Yeah. Can you, so help me get a layout here. So is this, when you say it's Miss Woods' residence from where you park? So there's a parking lot, there's a sidewalk, then does it go up to the,
So.
Yeah.
We'll say the front of the building goes like this, kind of like a curve.
Okay.
Okay, so main entrance is right here.
Yeah.
So there's an apartment here and an apartment here.
Okay.
I tend to park right over here at the end, and I've had the cops tell me I'm perfectly fine to park there. There's no reason
Yeah.
why I can't. So I am literally in between where her apartment and her neighbor's apartment are in distance.
Okay.
Isn't that a
This way.
fire lane?
We're not, and that's
I'm-
not being addressed. Right now, we're
It's-
just trying to figure out how far away your apartment is from where Miss Fuchsia parks, because we don't want you to, there's nothing that prohibits you from going home, is what we're making sure that your ability to go home and come to and from your front door isn't affected by this. That's what we're doing. All right.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's 10 feet, 20 feet, but there's a pretty good amount of grass right there. So, I mean, either way,
Yeah.
10 feet, whatever,
Okay.
it does not make too big of a difference.
Sure. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is put 10 feet, and just reason being, I want you to feel like you're protected sufficiently. But at the same time, considering, you're going to be at the apartment complex where Miss Woods is, I also don't want Miss Woods to.
Yeah,
you know,
like
go
I'm not
any
trying to be
trouble. So, right.
unreasonable with it at all.
Yeah, no, I understand. So I think hopefully 10 feet, that's a good distance where if she starts encroaching on what that kind of seems like, personal space, that starts to become a
just
violation of the order.
My bubble,
Yeah, so Miss Woods, what that means is there's going to be a 10-foot buffer around Miss Fuchsia, so herself, as well as her vehicle. You put your residence in the petition as well.
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it will be her residence as well. So what that means, Ms. Woods, is the restraint provision here says do not come within or knowingly remain within 10 feet of Ms. Fuchsia or her car.
Fine
or her
with
home.
me.
Right. And so
I don't want anything to do with her.
Great. Okay. And if it happens that the two of you incidentally are around the same area at the same time, that's it's knowingly remaining within that space. So again, 10 feet is pretty close. So I don't imagine that happens incidentally. But in the event that it does, you exit as soon as you can. Right. It's remaining within that space. That becomes a violation of the order. Do you have any questions with that?
No.
All right, so again, there's the no harm provision, the no contact provision, and the exclusion provision. I know, Ms. Fuchsia, you asked for a couple other things in the petition around mental health treatment, chemical defense. That is in there. These orders are written sort of assuming many different types of scenarios. We
Yeah.
often don't put that as part of this
I know.
process. So those are going to be the provisions here. Do you have any questions about that?
No,
Those
I
three
mean, as
restraints?
long as like she's already made it clear she's on meds, she's getting mental health, which is something I was concerned about.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't care as long as it changes
Okay.
and the behavior is corrected, then that's fine.
Okay, all right. Very good. Well, again, I'm going to finish this order after the calendar today, and it will be available to everyone here later this afternoon.
So it will be emailed.
Yes, it will be emailed. It's also going to be accessible on the court website. If there's instructions on how to access it, do we email it or is it just available online?
It's usually available. I can email it.
Okay.
Can I give you my email so I can take care of this with my work today and everything else? I'm really bad with technology. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I work medical.
Yeah, did you receive the service packet via email? Do you remember?
I don't know. I normally try to do everything on paper. I know it sounds really old,
Yeah,
but
just verify what it is and I'll make sure that that's it.
SERO.
All right, so we'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Woods, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right, well, thank you both for being here. Typically what we like to do is when an order goes into effect, excuse the party separately just to make sure everyone feels comfortable. And so Ms. Fuchsia, if you don't have any other questions, ma'am, you're free to go.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Woods, if you want to just hang tight for a few moments here and we'll get you on your way.
Okay.
And what's your name back there?
Donna Sherman?
Donna German. Thank you for being here as well, ma'am, and for being Ms. Woods's ride. Do you have any questions, if to the extent any of this impacts you?
Nope.
Okay.
Just know what, keep reminding her.
Sure. Okay. All right. And yeah, this order will be available on the Thurston County District Court website if she has questions about how to access it. All right. Well, thank you both. At this point, you're free to collect your things and have a good rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the calendar, 26-104. This is the the Stevens, Drake Stevens and Jessica Stevens against India Pello. We've got Mr. Stevens present in court. Come on, Purser. Either table is fine. You're the only one here in person. We've got Jessica Stevens present on Zoom. There we go. And we have the respondent, India Pello, on Zoom as well. All right. Okay, so I know we were all present earlier for the prior hearing. So again, it's going to be structured similarly. I'm going to provide a brief overview of my understanding of the record here, and then I'll turn it over first to the petitioners to provide testimony, then over to Ms. Pello, and then back. So my review here is that earlier this month, it looks like April 2nd, there was a temporary order granted in this case. And the allegations here are the parties are neighbors. The petitioners here are parents to a 13-year-old child as well. Allegations are that on March 3rd, Ms. Pello shot multiple rounds from a firearm outside of the residence. And that multiple times over the past 2 months, Ms. Pello has also directed some hostile and threatening behavior towards members of the Stevens family, including examples of trying to initiate fights. The petitioners here have had the Thurston County Sheriff's Office serve Ms. Pello, sounds like a no trespassing notice for their home. I also note that I'm aware that there's a essentially companion criminal case pending out of this court against Ms. Pello for reckless endangerment and aiming or discharging a firearm. So that's my review of the record. I'll turn it first over to the petitioners. Is there either one of you that wishes to address the court, or both? You both may, but just as far as who goes first.
I can speak first since I'm here. Other than the things that we've submitted,
I got to put you under oath first.
Oh,
Mr.
okay,
Stevens.
sorry.
All right, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Other than the videos that we've submitted along with the paperwork, I think it pretty much outlines everything that we want the court to know. Our relationship with our neighbor was fine up until about a year ago when things started to decline for whatever reason. We are not sure. None of it's provoked. Conversations are not initiated with her. It's always pretty one-sided when she comes out of her house in a rage, which still continues to happen. Yeah, other than the videos,
And just so you know, and this, it may get a bit complicated because there's the civil and the criminal case. The file for this petition doesn't, it includes your petition. It doesn't include any other kind of media. So there's no videos or audio or anything like that that has
Okay,
been uploaded in this case.
gotcha.
That might be different in the criminal case, but in this particular case, I do have the allegations in the petition that reference these incidents, but I haven't been able to view any video or audio. It's not
Okay.
just so you're aware.
Gotcha. They were uploaded last week to the file.
They were
I
submitted.
have them on they were submitted, yeah. I have them on my phone if you want to see them today, but it
Yes, I'm
basically,
in court still. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Hang
One
on,
moment,
Ms. Pillow.
please.
All right, Ms. Pillow, we'll get to you next, okay? All right. So I have a couple of just clarifying questions for you before I turn it over to Jessica Stevens. So, and then if Jessica Stevens could shed light on this too as well, it'd be helpful. So you sort of referenced, you said kind of multiple incidents. If I could, we don't need to get terribly specific, but if we could maybe talk a little bit more about a few of them, just so I'm clear what the specific issues are. I'm going to put aside the March 3rd incident for a moment here. You, in the petition, there's been allegations that Ms. Pello has initiated some hostilities by trying to initiate some fighting. Can you talk a little bit about some of those instances?
so I'm not real clear on the dates right now, but the day before she fired her weapon, she tried to get me to come out into the street and fight her. And then I
And
think
how so? Can you just go into those details?
very
a bit more?
aggressively screaming at me from her yard. You guys, do you want to fight me? Let's go. Come on, let's go out to the street. Another one was the no trespass order was filed the day she came to our door, telling us to get our crew, whoever that was, and come outside, that my son was a thief and I'm a rapist, and just completely aggressive, brash behavior. Those are a couple of incidences of it.
Okay. And this is about in the last month or two?
This is
timeframe we're
within
talking
the
about?
last few weeks or a
Last few
month.
weeks.
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying she's coming over to your property at times, coming to you and sort of initiating fighting and.
It's on the Ring
things like
doorbell.
that.
Yeah. Yep.
And then talk to me a little bit more about this incident on March 3rd. Again, it's described in the petition. Seems like it's fairly simple, but if you want to go ahead.
Sure, is this the firearm incident?
Yeah.
So basically, I went to leave about 6:30 in the morning on my motorcycle. I backed it out into the road. I started it. I drove off. About 10 seconds later, she came out onto her porch and fired 6 shots into the air, stating something about I'm out of bullets. Somebody should call the cops to come shoot me. Yeah, I think that was the day after she tried to fight me in the front yard and get me to go out into the street the next morning. After that,
Thank you.
and just to kind of lead up to that, it seems like I'll be out in my driveway talking to my neighbor or something, and one time she set both of her car alarms off. Another time I was leaving for turning the lights on and off on her house, which isn't threatening or aggressive, but it just notes that it seems that she's paying attention to when I'm leaving or when I'm outside of my house. So, yeah.
Understood. Okay, thank you. My final question, well, actually, before I'll turn it over to Ms. Stevens there, Jessica Stevens. If you have anything to add, I'll put you under oath as well.
I do.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead, man.
I just had a couple clarifying things I wanted to ask, because in the order that you signed, you omitted our 18-year-old son who can't file his own thing because he's in high school, and she's made threats against him. He's supposedly the thief that she talked about on her trip over here on the 31st.
Is he a member of the household?
Yes, he lives at our
Does he
home.
live with,
Yes, he's an 18-year-old senior.
is he referenced in your petition?
Yes, I put him, he was in the original petition.
Okay,
It's Leland Stevens.
okay.
And the only reason I ask about him, and I'm concerned about him is because she's brought him up.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, I've been worried because he likes to go out walking and stuff. And I'm like,
Okay.
So yeah, there's just so much. I live in constant fear. India used to be my friend. We talked every day and I don't know what happened, but now I'm afraid to go outside and garden because I never know when she's going to explode. And you can hear her from inside her home. The day of the gun incident on March 3rd, my husband had just left. I was still half asleep and I heard what I thought was gunshots. And so I screamed his name and called him. And he's like, no, it was just the garbage lid because it gets slammed sometimes. And then all my neighbors started calling me because they all have witnessed all of these different instances where she's trying to fight my husband or my neighbor, Steve, or saying things under her breath. I'm scared. I can't be outside doing the things I enjoy because I don't know what's going to happen next. Nothing's been directed, specifically at me, but it's my household. It's my husband. It's my son. I think she said that my son was a thief, that he ran up in her home or something. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to take in. My anxiety has skyrocketed. It's an everyday fear. Like since the order was granted, the temp order, it's like if we go outside, then she's on her front porch. One day we were buying a car for our son and it was kind of in front of our house and kind of in front of theirs. And she came and sat on the front porch. It's like, can you just not, please? I just want to be able to live in peace. I want my kids to feel safe. I want my husband and my father, who's disabled and just found out he has congestive heart failure, to feel safe, who live in my home. I'm sorry.
That's okay, man. All right. So Ms. Pello, I'm going to turn it over to you next. Now, I want to give you the benefit of reminding you that you do have, Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. This is not the criminal prosecution. This is, however, a legal proceeding where if you provide testimony, you do so under oath. And so the Civil Protection Order statute, it allows civil cases to proceed alongside criminal cases. The two, there's in fact language that states that the court must not refuse relief in a civil protection order matter simply because of the existence or non-existence of a companion criminal matter. That said, I know you are a criminal defendant in a matter that includes the same underlying allegations here with respect to the firearm.
Yes, I am.
So you do have that Fifth Amendment right to not talk about it. But the court still does make a decision today based on what's alleged in the petition. So I know that does put you in, a bit of a unique spot. But that is how we proceed today. There's other allegations besides just the allegations with respect to discharging the firearm. And so, there's other matters too for which you may want to provide testimony, but I do want to make sure you're aware of that Fifth Amendment right. And that these proceedings are legal proceedings where you're put under oath. And so I want you to make sure you're aware of that. That said, ma'am, if you would like to provide testimony, I'll go ahead and put you under oath now.
I'm going to just practice my Fifth Amendment rights. I appreciate Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Pello. All right. Well, in that case, back to the petitioners. Is there anything further you'd like to add?
Do you want to see any videos? No, then I don't. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm
No,
sorry.
that's
I
fine.
don't have anything for that.
At this point, I want to be clear on the record. In this case, what I have reviewed is the allegations in the petition here from both petitioners, Drake and Jessica Stevens, as well as testimony provided by the two petitioners. Ms. Pello is exercising her rights and is not providing responsive testimony here. Based on my review of what is in the petition, I am finding that there's grounds to grant the civil protection order. Reason in this case, I want to be clear that there are allegations of a pattern of behavior that I think meets the definition of unlawful harassment. Apart from those, there are civil allegations, which again is different from the criminal allegations, but of a single act of violence or threat of violence, which in and of itself, I find there would be cause for granting an order just looking at that March 3rd incident. A single act of violence or threat of violence is defined as follows under the Civil Protection Order statute, RCW 7.105. It's defined as a single act of violence or threat of violence directed at a specific person, which seriously alarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such person, which serves no legitimate or lawful purpose, which would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress and must actually cause substantial emotional distress. A single incident of violence, rather than have a pattern of behavior, as I've talked about in other cases, a single threat or act of violence is allowed when those elements are met in the presence of a firearm. And so in this case, given the allegations of discharging of a firearm, I believe the elements of unlawful harassment for a single act of violence or threat of violence is made in this case on its own, in addition to any other allegations of a pattern of behavior. So Ms. Pello, what that means is I am entering a civil protection order in this case. I'm going to go over the restraint provisions of that with you here in a moment.
Thank
Before I go over those restraint provisions, I want to be clear that who's being protected. And that's going to be the members, all four members of the Stevens household. So they have petitioned on behalf of their minor daughter, but included in the restraint provisions is also going to be their 18-year-old son, who is a member of the household, but of legal age. So that's why it sounds like he may have been missed originally, but he will be included in this full order. So those are the members who are being protected here. The restraint provisions include, you'll see in the order, ma'am, as you take a look at it, it's going to be no harm. So you're not to cause any harm, bodily injury, assault. I won't go through all of them, but no harm or harassment or threats to any member of the household. There's going to be a requirement to not contact any members of the household. And that includes direct or indirect through third parties electronically. Because you're neighbors, and this court here in district court, we can't interfere with anyone's use and enjoyment of their own property. So I'm not going to put any distance restriction on you, except for to not go onto the protected parties, the Stevens property. So you may come to and go to and from your property, and that's fine. But you'll be prohibited from coming onto the Stevens property. Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yes, it does.
All right. Part of this order will, I also want to address that given the nature of the allegations and the use of the firearm, the temporary order included an order to surrender weapons. I don't believe I've seen that there's been any follow-up with that order to surrender weapons. So that's something that's going to need to be complied with. Ma'am, did you get a copy of that order to surrender weapons?
Yes, Your Honor, I actually have it if you would like me to place it up against the which I actually do have it. I went to turn it in. I went to turn it in, was not, well, actually, excuse me, I didn't go to turn it in, but I do have the paperwork with me. Somebody did come out, an officer came out and filled it out. It's right here.
The proof of surrender?
Yes, Your Honor. Right.
It's okay. Yeah, if you maybe want to hold that a little bit closer. Inventory receipt. Okay, yeah, so ma'am, that does look to be the documents we're looking for. So on the packet you received from the Stevens, there's information on how to upload documents to the court file. You can do that electronically. You can also call the Thurston County District Court Clerk's Office if you have questions about how to upload documents to this court file, because we will need a copy of that you have in your hand there. It sounds like you've complied with the order. We just need proof of that to be filed with the court. So there's instructions on how to do that in the service packet you received. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Thurston County District.
Oh.
Okay. That is also getting onto the Thurston County District Court website into the case file. That's also how, ma'am, you can get a copy of the civil protection order, which goes over those restraint provisions we talked about here a moment ago. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you, ma'am. You're free to go. And for Mr. Stevens, Ms. Stevens, this is see on Zoom still there. I'm gonna fill out this protection order after today's hearings, and then so it will be available later this afternoon for you. But there's no need for you to serve her with a copy that she was present at the hearing, so that will be available to you electronically. Do you have any questions?
I do have a question. So it's granted for her not to be on our property. What if we're out in public? What if we're at someplace else outside of our residences?
Yeah, so in that case, so there's the no con, you'll see in this order, right? It says no contact.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not allowed to communicate with you, and she's not allowed to harm you.
Mm-hmm.
When we have situations like this where there are folks that are neighbors, we don't, getting into those distance restrictions becomes very difficult. And so we rely on in keeping folks safe. We do rely on that. She's not allowed to come onto your property. She's not allowed to contact you, and she's not allowed to do any harm to you. So those are the restraint provisions at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're out in public and you see each other, there's no bubble around you from her necessarily. But again, she's not allowed to communicate with you, and she's not allowed to do anything to harm you. And so that's the basis of the civil order. That's the protection the civil order provides to you and your children.
Okay.
Good question. Do you have any other questions?
How
I have
long
lots of
before?
them. If things continue to escalate and like the behavior continues, if we go outside, she comes outside and starts acting all crazy again, is there further steps we can take besides just calling the police? I mean, what more can we do at that point?
Well, if you feel she's violating the order,
Uh-huh.
call the police, because in addition to violation of this order is a crime.
Mhm.
So if you feel that the order is being violated, call the police.
Okay.
If you feel there are different grounds for asking for, a protection order that maybe has some more severe provisions,
Mhm.
you can always petition the court again for a modification.
Okay.
So there are options available to you. I
Okay.
can't give you legal advice. But
I appreciate it though.
there's also, as you all know, there's a pending criminal prosecution going on as well. So there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yes.
But violation of a civil protection order is itself then a crime as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's it. To your question, sir, these are in place for a year.
Okay.
There's instructions somewhere in the packet you received on if you'd like to renew
never
the
got it.
petition, you are able to ask the court for a renewal. And the burden is on the restrained party to explain why a renewal is inappropriate. but they're in place for a year.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Thank
Your
you.
Honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
At Olympia, what's your name, sir?
Keegan Pierce.
That's the one you folks are here for, is that right?
Wait, what?
No, you have some supporters in the courtroom here, Mr. Pierce.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sneva, did you get a chance to speak with Mr. Pierce?
I did, Your Honor. At this time, we'll be entering a stipulation to probable cause for the purposes of this hearing only and entering a not guilty plea. We'll waive any further advisement of rights. I've gone over those with him, and we are asking to be screened for an attorney. I have asked him his income. He does have a couple, he has a dependent and one that's going to be here very shortly, so he does qualify. I do believe he qualifies. I'm asking the court to appoint counsel. I'd also like to be heard on conditions of release. Thank you.
So you are Keegan Pierce.
Yes.
You're now charged with one count of assault in the 4th degree. That's a gross misdemeanor, which carries with it a maximum penalty of 364 days in jail and a $5,000 fine. Plea of not guilty will be entered. This matter will get set for future hearing. We're going to set conditions of release.
And
I will
Your Honor,
appoint public defense to represent you. This public defense was appointed in your other case. I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Your Honor, if I could just interject real quickly, because I think Ms. Vitale is going to, if I don't, is that there was an amended complaint that alleged aiding or abetting assault in the 4th degree, and that's what we were stipulating to, and I believe that's what the city's moving forward on. But I'll let
So
Ms.
aiding
Vitale
and
speak to that.
So
Aiding
not
and abetting
assault then.
Yes, aiding and abetting assault.
Give me a minute. What specifically is alleged to have happened here?
There was the allegations that there was an assault and that in part of this
There's a
the
PC
allegation
state.
is Mr. Pierce provided transportation and potentially coordination for this event. And again, obviously, we're not agreeing to any of that this time, but I believe that probably summarizes the allegation.
So I'll appoint Thurston County Public Defense to represent you. I guess give me just a minute here. We're going to need to adjust the JNS. I guess sold in the 4th degree, aiding and abetting. We're going to set conditions of release. I'm going to hear from the city. And then I'll hear from Mr. Sneva.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. As the court mentioned, he does have a pending DV assault case. And now we have probable cause for aiding and abetting an assault. I don't know if the court was able to read the PC statement.
I did.
You did. Okay, so you understand the circumstances. So given that
I
he's
do.
okay, given that he's on conditions
My
of
understanding might be a little bit different from Mr. Pierce's and the people in court with him. They seem to think this is kind of funny. I don't. And they're not helping you with their attitude and demeanor. Go ahead, Ms. Vitale, you can continue.
oh, Your
Yeah,
Honor,
I'm talking to you.
given that the defendant he's on pretrial release for a very similar charge, and then he's picked up this charge. And so I do think he is a danger to the community. The alleged victim and the defendant know each other. And so the city is requesting bail in the amount of $5,000. We are also requesting a no contact order protecting Mr. Alexander Eckerd Clark. We're asking for conditions of no new criminal law violations and return to all scheduled court dates.
Mr. Sneva?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're asking for release on this matter today. I do understand that there's another case that's pending. That being said, that was the only two things on his record. I did go over what would be expected of him if he were to be released, having to avoid the other party involved, allegedly involved, no matter what. And he seems to understand it. I think he's willing to comply with it. I would ask that he be released so we can handle both these matters out of custody. Thank you.
You know who your attorney is in the other case?
I do not.
You don't?
No, it's on my phone.
Say that again?
It's on my phone, but I don't know her name by heart.
You working right now?
Yeah.
What do you do?
The Home Depot warehouse in Lacey, and then some side jobs with that.
I would note he supports one child, Your Honor. It sounds like he has one. It's due very soon. Thank you.
Who's the alleged victim in the other case, the mother of the child?
Yeah.
It appears so, Your Honor.
And now you're expecting another child?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Give me a minute. Just looking at the probable cause on the other statement. Kind of a tough guy, aren't you? You don't need to answer that. I think you just did by your expression. I'm going to set bail on the amount requested by the city. Bail be 5,000 cash or bonds. If that's posted, you're not to have any other criminal law violations. You're not to possess a firearm or other deadly weapon. I'm signing a no contact order for Alexander Ickert Clark. You're not to have any contact with that individual. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't know if the defendant is able to make bail, but if it's unlikely, can we please set this on an in custody calendar?
Now, I'm not sure the public defense structure over there, how quickly can someone get appointed? I can set it for next week. I don't know whether he can be able to make it or not. If he puts you a bail bonds person, you could probably make it for 500. But the basis for the bail, I will backtrack a little bit. The basis for the bail is it's a community safety issue. You're here on an assault charge, a domestic violence related assault charge. Just real recently, and within a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you're here on another charge. Essentially, well, I won't characterize it, but you know what the allegations are.
Your Honor, I don't.
Tells me that you're not taking
Wednesday,
this all that seriously. Mr. Sneva, you wanted to say something?
I don't think we could get it turned around by next week. To be completely honest, I would think the week after would be more realistic.
All right. If you talk with him about, do you think he will be able to make that or not?
I had a feeling. I believe he'd be able to post with a bond. That was my sense, but again, I don't know if he wants to speak to that at all, but I believe that he could post a bond.
You going to be able to make that there, Mr. Pierce?
I do have $1,000 right now, and then I could get some more money.
Well, you can, at 5,000, you need to talk to a bail bonds person. If you can come up with that, you'll probably be able to make it.
Right.
All right.
I'm not going to set it then, Ms. Vitale, based on that. I'm not going to set it on the,
Understood.
all right. We'll go. What's that? We're not going to go out that far. Go out to 5. Was that? Your next court date will be May 7th.
All right.
It'll be at 10. And here's the thing. If there's any other violations, we're just going to hang on to you. You won't have to worry about bail. Do you understand that?
All right.
Your attorney in the state case, I'm not sure who your attorney will be in this case, but it'll be different.
All right.
Looks like a woman named Megan Haygood. Do you know the office of Thurston County Public Defense? You know the phone number for the office of Thurston County Public Defense?
I don't have it, but it's in my phone.
All right. I'd give that person a call. And then when you find out who your attorney is here in, Mr. Sneva, did he provide to you a cell phone number?
Yes, I forwarded that to the court, Your Honor.
That's it for today. You can be taken back. We'll see you back here on May 7th at 10 a.m.
Sounds good.
I believe that's the rest of my calendar, Your Honor. Thank you.
You,
For the Butler County Attorney's Office, Joseph Favre's defense counsel. Defendant Stahlecker appears at a court security location located at the Butler County Judicial Center. This matter comes before the court at this time for evidentiary preliminary hearing. I trust the state's ready to proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defense is still requesting an evidentiary hearing.
Yes, Your Honor.
State may call their first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, state would like to call Sergeant Ryan Smith with the El Dorado Police Department.
Very well. I see Ryan Smith on screen. Mr. Smith, if you'd go ahead and raise your right hand, the court will administer an oath. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do, Your Honor.
Very well. You may question the witness, Mr. Baca.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, if we could begin, could you state your name for the record?
Ryan Smith,
And Mr. Smith, where are you currently employed?
El Dorado Police Department,
And how long have you been employed with the El Dorado Police Department?
5 years.
Okay. And have you held any prior law enforcement positions before El Dorado Police Department?
No.
Okay. If you could for us, sir, can you summarize any training and experience you've received in order to perform your job duties?
I attended the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center basic training program. In addition, I've also completed multiple SFST refreshers. I've also completed A-RIDE training. I've also completed the drug recognition expert curriculum and am a certified DRE. And I've also completed the SFST instructor curriculum.
Okay. And in your entire time in law enforcement, do you know how many investigations you participated on that involved believed allegations of driving under the influence?
It'd be an estimate of a number, but I'd say probably around 100.
Okay. Now, Officer Smith, I'm going to be asking you questions that relate to a date of March 5th, 2025. Do you have any physical limitations or anything that keeps you from recalling the events on that day?
It was over a year ago, but I did review my body cam this morning and read my narrative, so I do have a pretty good recollection of what events transpired from my body cam.
Okay. Now, do you recall on March 5th of 2025, were you on duty in your current employment capacity?
I was.
Okay. And around the time of 20 and 4 hours, do you recall what your location was on that day and time?
Yeah, it was South Summit Street.
Okay. And South Summit Street in any particular area or city?
I was in El Dorado, Kansas,
Okay.
close to the intersection of West Towanda.
Okay. And you're familiar with the boundaries of Butler County, Kansas, is that correct?
I am.
And was this particular location within the boundaries of Butler County?
It would have been.
Okay. And can you describe for the court what you were wearing and driving at that time?
I was wearing my standard uniform, as well as my vest with body cam. I would have been driving a Dodge Durango.
Okay. And was that vehicle equipped with any law enforcement logos, lights, or anything to identify it as law enforcement?
Yes, everything on a standard patrol vehicle, light, siren, emblem.
Okay. Now, around the time of 20 and 4 hours on March 5th, you informed us your location. What, if anything, did you observe on that day and time?
So I was traveling southbound, and I noticed that there was a red passenger vehicle that was stopped in the middle of the road for no apparent reason.
Okay. And once you made this observation, what did you proceed to do next?
I continued to follow the vehicle as it started to go south as I got behind it.
Okay. Now, when you indicated this vehicle was stopped, can you describe where on the roadway it was stopped?
Yeah, I was in the middle of the road. It wasn't pulled off to the side near the curb or anything. And I didn't see anything that would have given any particular reason for it just to be stopped. But then it started to creep and travel slowly south down South Summit Street.
Do you recall, were there any other cars or traffic affected by this vehicle at that time?
No, just myself because I had to slow down for it.
Okay. You indicated this vehicle eventually started to move, correct?
It did.
Once it started to move, what did you observe, if anything, next?
So as it approached the intersection of South Summit and West Towanda, I noticed that the vehicle didn't signal 100 feet prior to making its turn. And then I also noticed that the tag on the vehicle had a expired 60-day tag.
And after making these observations, what did you do at that point?
After we navigated through the intersection, I was going to initiate a traffic stop.
And so did you eventually initiate that traffic stop?
I did.
Can you describe what happened as you initiated this stop?
Yeah, so as I initiated the traffic stop, the driver stopped, and I believe he was further than 12 inches from the curb. So he was in the roadway without pulling off all the way to the curb.
Okay. And what did you do at that point?
I let dispatch know that I was on a traffic stop and gave him the vehicle information.
Okay. And at some point, did you exit your vehicle?
I did. The driver was exiting his vehicle simultaneously without giving any instruction to do so. So I exited my vehicle and told him to remain in his vehicle.
And did you make any observations about that request you made of him?
No, just thought that was odd that he exited his vehicle without being told to. So it made me lead to believe maybe he didn't realize what was going on.
And when you requested that he get back in his vehicle, did he have a response to that?
No, he did get back in the vehicle, but I didn't hear anything or from his voice.
Okay. And so at some point, did you approach the driver of that vehicle?
I did.
Okay. And do you see the driver of that vehicle on the Zoom call today?
Give me just a second. I'm sorry. It's only got your screen right now. Yes, I do.
And if you could, for the court, could you describe what that person's wearing?
He's got on a blue t-shirt.
And Your Honor, if I could have the record reflect that Officer Smith has identified the defendant as the driver of that vehicle.
The record so reflects.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Officer Smith, what did you first say or ask the defendant when you made contact?
So when I engaged him, he had the driver door open and he was seated rather relaxed inside of the vehicle. And I explained the reason for the stop and told him about the expired tag that he had.
Okay. And did he have a response to this?
He did. He disagreed. I told him that the tag had expired in March. And I told him that it expired a different month than what he had provided.
Okay. Now, according to your training and experience, what did you notice initially about the defendant, if anything?
So what I noticed was he was real relaxed and he had a really slow, slurred speech going on. His head was down as if he was drowsy or tired. Also, I noticed the odor of alcohol beverage coming from him. And some other things I picked up was he gave me incorrect information. He didn't realize that we were in March and he thought we were in February. So those were some of the personal contact cues I had picked up.
Okay. And so at this point, what did you say or talk with the defendant about?
I asked him if he had anything to drink tonight.
And did he have a response?
He said no.
Okay. Now, what did you do next?
I asked him if he had consumed any drugs.
Okay, and did he have a response to that?
No, he said no.
Okay. And what occurred next?
I asked him about his driver's license and if he had a license.
Okay. And did he have a response on that question?
He said he didn't have a license, nor did he have one in his possession.
Okay. Now, after you learned this information, what did you proceed to do at that point?
I collected his name and date of birth.
Okay. And when you collected that information, what did you do next?
I requested another officer.
Okay. And what was the purpose of that request?
Because of the driver having no driver's license and telling me he didn't have a driver's license, issued to him a valid license, and then also I was going to be conducting a DUI investigation as well.
Okay. And did you inform the defendant that you were going to be continuing with a DUI investigation?
I did.
Okay. And what was his response to that?
I asked him if he would conduct standardized field sobriety testing, and he refused.
Okay. And when he made that refusal, what did you do at that point?
I told him I intended to place him under arrest and told him to exit the vehicle.
Okay. And can you describe what happened next as you attempted to place the defendant under arrest?
Yeah, so there was about a minute lapse that took place after I informed him to exit the vehicle, and the time that he did exit the vehicle. He was real relaxed and appeared drowsy. It should be noted that when I went up there the second time to inform him of exiting the vehicle, his head was down and he appeared to be passed out, and I had to essentially wake him up to do so. And then I told him about getting out of the vehicle, and he didn't really argue with me, but he took his time, and it was multiple commands for him to exit the vehicle, at which he finally did comply.
Okay. And then once he did comply, can you describe what happened at that point?
As soon as he exited the vehicle, we placed him in hand restraints.
Okay. And then was he eventually placed in another vehicle?
Yeah, he was placed in the back of my vehicle.
Okay. And once he was placed in the back of your vehicle, what did you do at that point?
I requested a canine. I had Detective Butcher request a canine to assist us with the traffic stop.
Okay. And after you made that request, what proceeded at that point?
I provided him with a copy of the DC-70 and read the DC-70 from a separate copy to him.
And what is the DC-70?
It's testing notices for collection of body sample, whether it be blood, breath, urine. It's testing notices for the person you're asking a sample of.
And you read the advisories on that DC-70 to the defendant?
I did.
And did he have a response after you read these advisories?
He refused to provide a sample.
Okay. And once he made that refusal, what did you proceed to do at that point?
Officer Butcher remained with the vehicle, and I transported him to the El Dorado Police Department.
Okay. And did you make any observations about the defendant as you were transporting him to the police department?
No.
Okay. And when you arrived at the police department, what did you do next?
I placed him into a holding cell and applied for a search warrant for his blood.
And do you recall, was that warrant approved?
It was.
Okay. And once you received that approval, what did you proceed to do at that point?
Once the warrant was signed by the judge, I returned back to the El Dorado Police Department and informed him that I had obtained a search warrant for his blood. And I took him over to EMS Station 1 here in El Dorado for the blood draw to be completed.
Okay. And did the defendant comply with this blood draw?
Yes, he wasn't happy about it. But I told him that I had a warrant and he was obligated by law to do so, or it would come with additional charges.
Okay. And was the blood draw eventually completed?
It was.
Okay. And who was it that completed the blood draw?
I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was a paramedic for Butler County EMS.
And did you observe the blood draw as it was happening?
I did.
Okay. Once the blood was obtained by the paramedic, what did they do with that sample?
They put it into the proper packaging for the KBI packaging that they had, and then they gave it to me.
Okay. And what did you do with the sample at that point?
I took it into my possession and then put it into an evidence locker for processing.
Okay. And was that sample eventually sent to any labs that you know of?
Yeah, I submitted it to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation for a specimen sample.
Okay. And do you recall when that blood was drawn from the defendant, what the hours were?
I can't recall the time it was.
Okay. Before we get into anything further on the blood, what happened with the defendant's car while he was transported to the police department?
So Detective Butcher stayed with the vehicle until Deputy Weber came out with his canine for a canine sniff. And I was informed that that canine sniff yielded a positive indication, which resulted in a probable cause search of the vehicle.
And did you participate in the search of that vehicle?
I did not.
Okay. Now I want to go back to that blood sample. At some point, did you receive information from the KBI that they had completed testing on that sample?
I did. I got test results back from them.
Okay. Now, how did you know they were the results from this particular defendant?
On the label that I put on, or the descriptor for the blood sample I submitted, I put the defendant's name on there.
Okay. Were there any other identifying marks, such as a case number or anything?
It absolutely had a case number associated with it.
Okay. And Your Honor, at this point, the state has filed a notice of intent for that KBI lab. That was filed April 9th of 2026. State would move to admit that before publishing the results under KSA 222902 subsection A.
Mr. Favre, any objection?
No objection, Judge.
Very well. The court will admit the lab test result into evidence, and you may screen share that at this time, Mr. Baca.
Yes, Your Honor. May take me a brief moment, but I'm getting it. I sent the request. I believe it needs to be approved for screen sharing. I'm not sure if Mandy approves that.
I just clicked on it to allow.
Okay.
It should have worked.
There we go. You are correct. Now, Officer Smith, I am sharing my screen. Can you see that?
I can.
Okay. And what is it that you're looking at on my screen?
It's a Kansas Bureau of Investigation laboratory report.
Okay. Now, can you verify these are the same results that you received from the KBI lab?
It is.
Okay. And do you see those identifying markers of the defendant's name and the case number on this?
I do.
Okay. And so this is the sample from the defendant that you sent into the KBI lab. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And if you could, what are the results, if you could inform the court on that, of that KBI lab report?
Ethyl alcohol
0.14 grams per 100 milliliters of blood.
Now, according to your training and experience, what is the cutoff limit to be considered driving under the influence according to the laws of the state of Kansas?
The per state limit is 0.08.
Your Honor, I will stop sharing at this point.
You may do so.
Now, Officer Smith, did you have any further conversations with the defendant after you received his sample from that day to today?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else about this investigation that you feel is relevant and the court should know about the defendant?
No, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, state is also going to move to admit the certified driving record of the defendant. I believe this can be done under KSA 60-465. Copy has been provided to Mr. Favre. It does have the attestation that's required to be authenticated under that statute. And so state would move as State's Exhibit 2 to admit the certified driving record.
All right. Any objection, Mr. Favre?
No objection, Your Honor.
Very well. State's Exhibit 2 will be admitted into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. And at this time, I will also publish and have a few questions for Officer Smith. So I will screen share this as well.
Very well.
Now, Officer Smith, do you see my screen?
I do.
And what is that document that you're looking at?
Can you enlarge it? It's pretty small. Like I can see it there, but I can't read it.
I believe so. How is that?
Okay, that's good right there. Thank you, sir.
Are you familiar with documents like this?
I have actually never seen one like this.
Okay. What does that document state as you look at it? What type of document is it?
Certification of driver's record.
Okay. Now I'm going to move a few pages. This would be on page 2. On page 2 there at the top, what is the information that you see there?
Licensee information.
And is it about license information about a certain person?
It is.
And which person is that?
Justin Blake Stoliker.
Okay. And does that information, his date of birth, appear to line up with the information that you had received during your investigation?
It does.
Okay. I'm moving on. This would be on page 3. And near the bottom section, this section, can you read what this section is about?
Convictions and administrative events.
And so it lists some convictions. According to your training experience, are these prior convictions that a person has received?
Yes.
And if you can see on there, how many prior convictions are there for driving under the influence?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I see 11 for like with DUI in it.
Okay. You would say there are at least 2 prior on this. Would that be correct?
Yes.
And if you can tell on this record, the most recent conviction for DUI, does it have a date of when that happened?
It does.
And what is the date of that conviction?
Looks like conviction for it was October 21st, 2015.
Okay. Now, once again, Officer Smith is Judge. I'm sorry. It's all the information I have for Officer Smith at this point for the screen sharing. I will stop sharing at this point.
You may do so again.
Yeah. Now, Officer Smith, once again, is there anything more about this particular investigation you feel the court should know in regards to the defendant of your investigation?
Yes, now that I've had a little bit of time to ponder that question. It was discovered during the records check that the defendant had multiple open suspensions, which was told to me by dispatch. And then also, in addition, I was informed by Detective Butcher about what was yielded and found inside of the probable cause search of the vehicle.
Okay. Anything else about the defendant or conversations that you've had with the defendant specifically?
No.
Okay. Judge, I think that's everything I have for Officer Smith at this point.
Mr. Favre, do you have questions for Officer Smith?
I think just a few. Officer Smith, I just want to kind of recap, as I understand your version of events. This occurred on March 5th of 2025. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at the time, it was around 8 p.m. in the evening, 8:04. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You were traveling in the 700 block of South Summit, El Dorado. And that's when you spotted the vehicle in question. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The vehicle, as I understand it, was stopped. Now, were they on the roadway or on the side of the roadway? I wasn't quite clear on that.
It was in the middle of the roadway.
In the middle of the roadway. Okay. Is that a 2-lane road, a 1-lane road?
It's a 2-lane, so both north and south traffic.
Okay. So which lane was the vehicle stopped in?
The south lane.
The south lane. Okay. And you got behind the vehicle, but you had not hit your lights prior. And the vehicle was at a stop. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't turn my lights on until after we went through the intersection.
Gotcha. So then the vehicle in question went through the intersection and then turned on to Tawanda, but I think your testimony was he failed to signal 100 feet prior. Is that right?
He did.
Okay. And you also noticed, that's the point that you initiated a traffic stop. Is that it?
Yeah, after we went through the intersection, I initiated the stop.
Okay. And the reason for the stop was the failure to signal?
And the 60-day tag was shown expired.
Okay. Was there anybody else in the vehicle besides Mr. Stahlecker?
No, he was only occupant.
Okay. I'm going to skip down. It looks like we had some back and forth about him getting out of the vehicle. I guess let me just start by this. Where did he pull over when he pulled over?
It would have been the like, are you talking about where in the road?
Yes, where in the road.
So it was in the middle of the road. I would say he was still in the lane of traffic. So it didn't look like he made any attempt to pull off to the right towards the curb. It would just be like a normal vehicle if it was traveling in the westbound lane of Tawanda.
I see. So he stopped right in the middle of the road. Okay. All right. You mentioned that you called the dog out. Did the dog, you mentioned that the reason you had probable cause is because the dog hit. Is that right?
I didn't search the vehicle. I was informed by Detective Butcher that they did receive a positive indication, and then he searched the vehicle.
I see. Okay. But you at that point were already starting to process Mr. Stahlecker for a DUI?
Yes. Yeah, we were already in the process of that and everything.
And I think you had mentioned you had asked him to do the field sobriety tests. Is that right?
I did.
He denied doing the field sobriety tests.
Correct.
Okay. Do you happen to know if the dog ended up finding anything in the car?
To my understanding, I think they found alcoholic beverages in the vehicle.
Okay. And this is not your dog, so you probably can't testify as to what the dog's trained to smell, right?
No, I wasn't on scene when the dog was out there.
Okay. All right. So just run through for me like the highlights of why you decided to ask for a warrant for his blood. What indications of intoxication were you seeing?
Sure. So when we saw when I saw the vehicle stopped in the middle of the roadway for no apparent reason, that obviously raised my eye. And then also when he failed to signal 100 feet prior to his turn, that also kind of caught my eye a little bit. And then also his stop was improper, because rather than pulling off to the side, he just stopped in the middle of the roadway. And then also when he got out of the vehicle, I felt that was odd as well. And then during my personal contact with the defendant, he had very slow, slurred speech. There was an odor of alcoholic beverage. He provided me incorrect documentation by giving me invoices instead of his insurance. He believed that the month was February and it was March. When I returned back to the vehicle, he was passed out, or at least to the point where he was laying on his steering wheel with his eyes closed and had to be woken up. And all of his movements during the interaction were slow.
All right. So some of those, it sounds like this is kind of a totality of the circumstances assessment. Is that right?
Yes.
Because some of those things are not necessarily in and of themselves indications of intoxication, failing to signal, for instance, or stopping improperly, getting out of the vehicle. Those are things that non-drunk people can do, right?
Yes, I mean it's multiple cues, as they're called, of impairment.
Okay. When the blood draw was done, I think you're the one that said you transported him to the emergency medical station where the blood draw was done. Is that right?
I did.
Okay. And the blood was collected by EMS, not yourself, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And were you there when the blood was collected?
I was.
And you're the one who took the blood directly, and you're the one that held it in evidence until it was shipped off to KBI.
After they gave it to me, yeah, it was in my possession.
And what was the chain of evidence for that? How did it stay in a secure box? How did it get transported?
So I had it with me in my possession, and then I put it in an evidence locker, and then it stayed in the evidence locker until I went back and submitted it to our evidence computer, and filled out the necessary paperwork for it. And then once I finished with that, I put it back into the locker, and it stayed there until the evidence custodian removed it and submitted it.
Okay, so you're not the one that actually submitted to KBI.
I did not physically take it to KBI. Our evidence procedure is we submit it to the locker room.
I'm sorry. I mean, you're not the one that actually shipped it to KBI, correct?
I was not. No.
Who else has access to the evidence locker?
Lieutenant Scott Roberts.
And he's the evidence clerk, or
he's the evidence custodian. He's the evidence custodian.
Evidence custodian. Okay. And he would have been the one that received the response from KBI too, or did that come directly to you?
It would come to both of us. He usually will get it and then forwards it to me.
So that report that we viewed today, that was forwarded to you by this other gentleman?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. No further questions for this witness.
Anything further for this witness, Mr. Baca?
Just one brief question, Your Honor. Officer Smith, Mr. Favre was asking you if you observed the blood draw. You indicated you did. You can't recall what time that blood was drawn. Was that correct?
Right.
Do you know, was it within at least 3 hours of observing the defendant driving, or was it past 3 hours?
I believe it was within 3 hours. I know that's something that I strive to get to, and I didn't make any note or anything. At least I know I didn't make any note in my narrative that I didn't have that, but there should have been, with my case, I should have had the blood draw paperwork from EMS that EMS had given me, and I believe their time of draw is included on that sheet.
Okay. No further questions for Officer Smith, Your Honor.
Anything further along those lines, Mr. Favre?
No, Judge.
Very well. Any reason why that officer can't be excused at this time, counsel?
State knows of no reason.
All right. Very well, Mr. Smith, you may stay with the meeting if you want to. If so, please mute yourself.
Thank you, Your
Or
Honor.
you can leave it at your choice.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Does the state intend to call additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor, this time the state would rest.
All right. Does the defense intend to call any witnesses at this hearing?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Very well. Court has considered the evidence presented and finds that the evidence shows that there's probable cause that the felony crime of driving under the influence has been committed and that the defendant, Justin Stahlecker, committed it. Defendant is bound over for trial on the felony charge of the information. I will just simply note there are additional misdemeanor charges also pending in the case. We'll proceed to formal arraignment at this time. Mr. Favre, does your client desire the charging document to be read to him?
Judge, he would waive a formal reading and enter a not guilty plea at this time.
Very well. The court will establish appropriate pretrial conference and jury trial settings. And note that Mr. Stahlecker is not in custody. Trial date that I will suggest, Mr. Favre, please check your calendar, will be one that begins Tuesday, August the 18th. See you nodding. I trust that'll work for the state as well.
That works, Judge.
Yes, Your
Court will
Honor.
establish the jury trial in the state for Tuesday, August 18, continuing day to day thereafter until complete. The defendant is ordered to be personally present for all stages of that jury trial if it goes. Courtroom B, Butler County Judicial Center. We will conduct a pretrial conference the week before. Mr. Favre, I'll just ask for your availability on the morning of Friday, August the 14th.
Judge, I anticipate that I will be available that morning. If it's by Zoom, I definitely could be available by Zoom.
All right, this would be a Zoom proceeding, 11 o'clock a.m.
That works.
Mr. Stahlecker, I have no objection to you appearing at the Judicial Center by Zoom the same way that you have today. That's the location I'm going to order you to appear at, 11 o'clock a.m. on Friday, August the 14th, for a pretrial conference in your case. I encourage the parties to talk and confer between now and that time to see if there isn't some way that some or all of these charges might be disposed of in some manner. Friday, August 14, 11 o'clock for pretrial conference. All right, with the trial and pretrial conference settings now made, Mr. Favre, from your perspective, is there anything else that needs to be addressed at this time?
There's just one more item, Judge. We would like to address the issue of Mr. Stahlecker's bond. He currently, as court noted, is on bond. However, he does have a pretrial SCRAM bracelet requirement. We received a notice earlier today. It was sent to Mr. Sweeney, so I'm not sure if it was forwarded to Mr. Baca, that Mr. Stahlecker has had zero compliance issues. He's been on the program for 46 days. No tampering, no alcohol consumption. The SCRAM is a very expensive bracelet for him, and it's really wearing on his finances to have that on. So we asked the court to consider removing that SCRAM bracelet at this time.
Mr. Favre, you're aware of the number of previous DUI convictions this client of yours has?
I'm very familiar, Judge.
What is the state's position regarding the request, Mr. Baca?
Well, Judge, while I appreciate he hasn't had any incidents, we also don't have any information that he's done anything to address the underlying issue, any treatment, anything like that. I know the request was also made March 16th and it was denied by this court. I think until he's maybe done something or shown something to address the issue, state's request would be for that SCRAM to continue.
Yes, the court will just look at past history in this case, not considering the current case before the court, but Mr. Stahlecker appears to be a consistent danger to society. SCRAM bracelet helps monitor alcohol usage and, in fact, in his case, deters it. I think for public safety reasons. The court is inclined not to grant any relief at this time. The court will leave the SCRAM bracelet requirement in effect during the pendency of this case. I do understand that there is some expense attached to it, but I think that's part of the implications of the type of behaviors that Mr. Stahlecker has been involved in the past. So the SCRAM bracelet requirement as part of his bond conditions remains. No relief is granted on Mr. Favre's motion. Anything else, Mr. Favre?
Not this time, Judge.
Very well. And if there's nothing further, then the Justin Stahlecker matter will currently be in recess.
Ian Greenlee versus Bridget Martin.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Fantair on behalf of the plaintiff.
And Charles Fletcher. Ms. Martin?
Mute.
Oh, there she.
I'm here. Sorry. Gosh.
No, it's okay.
I'm
All
not
right.
used to doing Zoom. Sorry.
It's all right. Okay. Mr. Pantera, what is the claim?
There's rent owing in the amount, including court costs, of $6,183.
All right. And Ms. Martin, how are you intending on getting this paid?
Well, I moved out on November 26th, and Charles Fletcher is refusing to move out, so I don't know what to do. I turned the power off. The power has been off at that apartment since December 2nd. So I don't know what to do.
So you voluntarily surrendered?
My lease was up December 1st and I left.
Gotcha. But he hasn't done that. So here's what I'm going to do. Mr. Pantera, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony regarding the amount that's owed is true to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
I do, Your Honor. Would you like me to break down the balance between rent and court costs?
Yes, please, if you could.
It's there's rent of $5,995. Court costs of $188 for a total of $6,183. And I will say, Your Honor, that what Ms. Martin is saying, I believe, is true. She has Section 8. And in fact, I think you'll see in the file that we actually started this case with a 30-day notice rather than a 7-day notice. And we got the Section 8 payment through the end of the year, but we didn't get anything for January, so we thought there was an issue. And then when I went to file the case, my client said, and it's a joint and several lease between Ms. Martin and Mr. Fletcher, that she said that she had moved out, and obviously she's taken her voucher somewhere else. But Mr. Fletcher is there, so I had to proceed against both parties.
So I understand you want to proceed as to both parties, but Ms. Martin has said she's vacated, and that's actually buttressed by what you're saying regarding the voucher and the payment. So I'm going to allow a default judgment for possession as to Defendant 2. I'm going to indicate that Defendant 1, Ms. Martin, has indicated she's vacated the premises.
So I will
And
put
I
under
also
further.
have court. Oh, sorry.
I will put under further orders that the case is dismissed as to Ms. Martin, and that the judgment is proceeding with respect to Mr. Fletcher only.
Yes.
So Ms. Martin, if you've got anything in the apartment that you want, you need to get it out.
Oh, it's been gone since November 26th. I have not been there.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I'm hearing. So, all right,
And
that way you
I
don't.
have text correspondence saying that I was leaving on that day. Everything, if you
All
need
right,
any
Ms.
of
Martin,
that.
Ms. Martin,
Yes,
Ms. Martin,
sorry.
you're
Yeah.
good. No, it's
Okay.
okay. You're good. I'm just doing it in this way so you don't get a judgment as against you.
I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. You take
Have a
care.
great
For not
day.
knowing, for not knowing Zoom, you did a great job.
Thank
right.
you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Mrs. Haberkamp, LLC versus David Frame.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Fantair on behalf of the plaintiff.
And Mr. Frame, you may want to unmute. What is
Thank you, Your Honor.
plaintiff's claim?
The amount of rent that's owed in this case, including court costs, is $2,159.
Mr. Frame, how are you intending on getting that paid?
I would like to address Your Honor, saying that I did it during high school. I had business and criminal law taught by Mrs. Gail Yak, so I do know that the lease contract is, considered to be a contract by both parties, correct, Your Honor? There has been blatant disregard for security and repair in the apartment building that I live in. So I do believe that's blatant negligence. So I'm requesting that to be considered, Your Honor.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to order the defendant to file an answer. Or you have to file a written answer with the court. I'm going to order that to be filed by the 23rd, 2006, with all of the allegations that you're making. I will then adjourn this matter to the 24th, 2026 at 3 p.m. That is an in-person hearing. You'll need to show up, but the answer needs to be in the court by that time. And you need to make sure that defendant or plaintiff's attorney gets a copy of it.
All right, can I get the court date again, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
The court date is April 24th, 3 p.m. in person.
Your Honor, may I address one more thing?
Yes, you may, Mr. Frontier.
Mr. Frame, we had occasion to go into Mr. Frame's unit in the month of March because there was water coming from his apartment. He had intentionally taken the pipe out from underneath his sink and turned the water on. And so he flooded his apartment and other apartments in the building. And when we tried to address him on that, he made some strange allegations regarding security and stuff like that, that he thinks people were out to get him. Can we order him not to do that again? We can't have floods going into other units because of Mr. Frame's behavior.
Okay, it sounds like that's something that we're going to have to deal with the entirety of that at the next hearing. So, Mr. Frame, get your answer in. We'll see you in a week.
What's the courtroom, sir, Your Honor?
The courtroom?
Yes.
It's courtroom C. You're in the access point. It's the one furthest down the hallway.
Okay, and what I have to bring evidence of, and what would that include? Eyewitness accounts? I don't have a phone or a cell phone.
The first thing you need to do is file an answer to the complaint so I know what your allegations are.
And where would I get that paperwork, Your Honor?
You can fill it out on a general answer form. You can get that from the clerk's office, which is right outside the door of the room you're in.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sile Farms versus Michael Moore. Michael Moore, not checked in. You've been previously sworn. You may proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor, there's rent to retain of $1,631.52. Costs are $192 for a total due of $1,823.52. And we'd ask for a default possession only judgment with writ to issue after 10 days. Your Honor, just so the court is aware, one of the caseworkers from Hawk did reach out yesterday while I was out of the office, indicating that they are assisting, well, they requested documentation to assess Mr. Moore for potential funding, and I am in touch with Sile Farms to gather that documentation and to send over to them.
Okay, that happened yesterday?
It did happen yesterday.
Okay, and that's not on my spreadsheet either. Okay, all right. Well, judgment to the plaintiff, that's by default for possession, redemption amount in the amount requested, writ to issue 10 days. Okay, Sile Farms versus Stephanie Vogel. And Corey Vogel.
Oh, thank you. I want to make sure for it.
What?
Oh, before I approached, because you just said her name first, I was like, I didn't want to just walk up here.
I called the important one.
Right, for sure.
Just along for the ride. All right. All right. Where are we in this case?
Okay, so we called Hawk, as you know, previously known, and we didn't get approved for that. So after we left here last time, we were calling the MAP program. The issue with that is they said they only hand out like a set amount of them a month. So by the time we got out of the last court hearing and we called them, they said that they had already handed out like the maximum for the month. So they told us we could come back on the 1st and get it. So I'm actually like requesting that as long as we pay May's rent, so we stay under that $2,000, if we can apply again through MAP. So we stay under 1,000. Yeah. So we can stay eligible for the MAP program.
So the balance at present, Your Honor, is $1,895.79. There was a payment made of $280 earlier this week, or might have been on, I'm not sure if they dropped it off on Friday or on Monday, but in any event, they did make the $200+ payment that they had promised, but I don't have authority to adjourn it into May while we wait to see if they qualify for that program, unfortunately.
How much is their monthly rent?
It is $9.15 plus they have a $10 pet fee, and then water sewer based on usage, which looks to be 110, 120-ish, sometimes a little higher or lower per month.
Your Honor, we're also waiting on DHS to make their payment.
To make
their payment.
I did forget about that. Thank you, Ms. Vogel, for the update on that. I believe DHS did approve a payment of, what was it, $581.70, I believe is what DHS approved. And so their payment of the $280 would cover the portion DHS said they were responsible for. It'd just be a matter of DHS releasing the $581.70 at this point.
What if we could pay May's rent by like next month?
Okay, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
Trying to figure out how to get. I don't have any. When did you guys call Hawk?
The same day we got out of court.
I don't. There's.
I have the paper where they sent me a file.
I don't have anything on that. Okay, that's not anything having to do with you guys. You guys are good. Okay, right. That's just more my frustration with people messing with the system.
All right.
It's okay. I usually crush those people when I get a chance. Did I say that out loud? Okay.
I heard nothing.
There you go. All right. So did you give me a number that their rent would be?
So $915, $925 plus approximately, let's just say 120. That's probably their average water sewer usage ish. So 925 plus 120, 1,045.
So if they're at 1,895 plus 1,045, roughly speaking, I would be at 2,940. All right. And so MAP, well, but then I take off that about 580 that DHS is going to pay once everything's paid.
I paid everything, so they should release the funds.
Pardon?
I paid what DHS expected, so they should be releasing the funds.
Okay.
They said I had to pay like $1,780 in order for them to release their portion, the 5 something.
Got it. So they weren't expecting a zero.
I think DHS, Your Honor, probably based their decision off of maybe the summons and complaint versus the current balance. And so their tenant portion didn't necessarily cover the current balance due, but that's what I was trying to probably ineloquently explain to the court is that Ms. Vogel, between her 2 payments, did pay the amount that DHS recorded as the tenant portion based on their review.
It had at the time.
Yeah.
And so the only thing is that then DHS, you're right, they should release it without you being at a zero. But if I look at this and okay, so I'm still going to be short, which is what the problem's going to be. Can you give me 2940 minus 581?
$350.
Okay. So you can probably see what I'm doing. I'm factoring in your
Next month.
May rent, looking at everything that's going to be paid, and what gets you to where you're at the 2,000 come May 1. And based upon the numbers that I'm running, I'm about 350 short. Okay. So my question is, I don't have a problem because you went through that process trying to get you to May if the 350 can be paid, so that then I just have a balance of the.
And we have till Wednesday.
Pardon?
We have till Wednesday to pay that, 350.
Oh, yeah. So you think you can get that paid next week?
I'll pay 500 next week.
Yeah.
Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
That's easy. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjourn it out 1 week to make sure that payment's done. Okay, so you're going to pay, I'll just say between 350 to 5. Okay. Pay that. And then if that's done, then what I'm going to do is I will do the adjournment to May. And see, the May date is going to be May 1. So it's the 8th.
Yeah, because of the benchmark.
Oh, I'm not here on the 1st?
No.
Yay.
Forgot about or something?
That wasn't a vacation. She was reminding them of something important.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I am. That's
Not in this room.
all right, May.
Okay.
So what we would be doing is doing that.
4th.
Then you could do, theoretically, I'm not going to adjourn it at this point to that point.
Right.
But theoretically, what you'd be able to do then is get the application in May 1st. Then we hopefully can maybe have an answer by the 8th and get you guys to ground zero.
Yeah, they said to call first thing in the morning on the 1st, and they said it shouldn't have a problem proved. They just, I guess, only let out a limited amount of them because of the income bracket.
Exactly. All right.
And since we were so late in the month after the last hearing, they already used them all up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys will be all set, and then we'll see you next week at what time? 1 p.m.
Okay.
And that's basically, I'm really just checking
to make sure
that held up and done, and our numbers will relatively match up, and then get you into May.
All right. Thank you.
I'll do that over plaintiff's objection to the extent they have an objection, but
Thank
I
you.
don't think they shouldn't have, because
We're really trying.
Yeah, we are trying.
math with me. All right. Okay, folks. Okay.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Case.
Oh. Okay. Let me recall the case of Silo Farms versus Michael Moore.
Is Mr. Moore, oh, there we go. Okay.
Sorry, I was running a little bit late this morning.
You're running late and here last time, so okay. You defaulted your balance currently is 1823.52.
Yeah, I talked to Autumn at Hawk on Wednesday, and she's pretty confident that they're gonna be able to help me. I sent the rest of the paperwork that I needed to send her, and she said she was gonna contact the court.
From looking at this sheet.
She said that she was gonna contact you guys, but it was just the day before yesterday.
No, it's not, that's not your fault. They send us a sheet to tell us, you weren't here telling me this, I would have no way of knowing.
She did say to make sure that I came and told
Oh, I know, but there
money or not.
be can't work that way because okay. So I'm not going to enter the judgment. You sent in all your paperwork.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to hear back from her.
I'll adjourn it. I'm going to adjourn this case out 1 week.
Okay.
24th, 2026, 1 p.m. Be on time this time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to adjourn it out. Let's.
Okay. Thank you.
So, put on that, I ended up issuing a judgment against somebody that was in the middle of the process. It's crazy. Arbor Woods versus Sanaja Thomas. And no, just stuff. I said the name right. I did. Hello. What's your name?
My name's Sanaja. And I'm mom, Tanjanika.
You're her mom? I wouldn't be able to tell by looking at them, would you? All right. Yes, you do favor each other. All right. So what is owed here?
$3,282.22. I know there was a indication of a plan to pay $1,700 today, but I don't know if that got in before the ladies appeared for court.
Right. Okay. What happened?
Get in. I've been in the hospital with my daughter, so my check was really low. I didn't know my daughter had a baby and she had complications. I have another daughter, and we just got out, and I'm tired, but I was just trying to see if I can wait till Wednesday. I could pay like almost 15 Wednesday. Could. And okay.
So grandmother blame it on the baby.
I'm not blaming it on the baby.
No, I'm
sorry.
I'm just messing with you.
Sorry.
All right. How's mom and baby doing?
They better. They at home.
Okay.
God, yes.
That's the important thing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. So you think can't do the 17 because you were there doing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Somebody.
All right, but you think you can pay 15
on Wednesday? Yeah.
On Wednesday. All right. And then what's the plan for how you're going to get the rest of?
I'm gonna call DHS. I'm talking for my daughter because I'm trying to help her out. But I'm gonna call DHS. Put in because we put in for one a while back, but I ended up paying that, and they told me I had to do another one. But by me being in the hospital, I wasn't really able to do it.
Are you working?
Yes, I'm working.
Have you gone over to Hawk?
I called for her. They said we make too much.
All right. So here's what I'll do. I'll adjourn this to April 24th, 2026 at 1. You're to pay the $1,500. You need to make sure that's paid on Wednesday, the 22nd.
Okay.
All right. Then I want you to call Ms. Dornbush's office, see whether or not you can work out some agreement for the payment of that balance.
Yes, sir.
All right, because you're getting kind of close to May.
Yes.
So we gotta
Yeah.
try to do it. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Strong Future Home versus Ashley Womack.
Leaning in for plaintiff.
She's on the show. Hello.
Hello.
Womack.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
I have a balance including court costs of $2,272.28. I have a note from my client that SOS approved that balance and has mailed a check out. So
Okay.
just waiting on that to arrive. If Your Honor wants to adjourn it, we can.
So if they get it in ahead of time, do I have to go to that court date?
The next one I'm going to give you. What, you don't want to come back and see me?
Love you, but
No, you see,
I watch you all the time. I don't want to.
it was me. It hurts my feeling.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. April 24th, 2026, 2 p.m. And no, if everything is paid, you don't have to come back and see me. All right, Mr. McMahon.
Okay.
All right, you take care. Okay, that's it. All right, court's gonna stand in recess. All rise.
Oh my God, I gotta sit back down. I stood up. Mr. Allen said, all rise. I had to stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, we're there. Saturday. We've had a week full of court cases, and we're there. Right there. At that spot, at the end of the week, where all we have left are the weekend first appearances. Some of those will be interesting, but you probably won't see a lot of those right off the bat. I have a lot of decisions to make for tonight. Wow, the mic was really hot there for a second for some unknown reason. I'm not quite sure what we'll be watching yet. I do know Mogan will be around for tomorrow. I'm thinking, even though we're doing Civil Sunday, I'm thinking I may show a property dispute with Judge Park tonight. It looks really interesting. But I also have a McNally shooting preliminary examination. We don't see a lot of prelims with McNally. We might watch that. It's a little bit older. It's from January, I believe. It's been sitting back for a while. So, that's exactly what these premieres are for. It's Saturday and Sunday night. So come on by later on this evening, 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Did I do that right? I think I did that right. Gosh, dang it, you chat. Y'all are amazing. Kimby, Becky, most especially Scott McIntosh, wherever you are out there. God, man, thank you so much for all of the super chats today. I counted up like 10 amazing super chats. I don't even, I normally don't read super chats out. I put them on the screen and I comment to them on the screen. And I just want to say, I wanted to make sure I tried to get every single one of yours. Not only do I want to say thank you so much to Scott McIntosh, but Sally Port, thank you so much. Contacons, thank you so very much. Granny, thank you so much. Also, all you wonderful people who have contributed to my madness and my ability to continue this project, bring you what I think are some of the most interesting court cases from around the court sphere. And they get archived right here for our discussion and our perusal. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm your lone wolf Usul, and I'm happy to be your curator and your host for these little get-togethers. Hopefully I'll see you later on tonight. But for now, just for now, I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday, great weekend, because I am out. Shiloh, great to see you. Did I say hello to you? Donald, thank you for coming by. I just, Oh, I'm curious about this. Scott McIntosh is our #1 fan for the day, with Sally Port coming in a close second, Contacon third, Great Granny in fourth, and Alex Dane Mom in fifth. Mama Wolfie and Rhonda are out there in the top 10 too. Shirley, great to see you today. Hope y'all have a great afternoon. I'll see y'all later on this evening. Bye now. There is no outro today for our little, Ferris Bueller's Day Off montage. Nothing. I got nothing. Train kept a rolling all day long. Train kept a rolling. Chewbacca.